How's it going, guys? And welcome to a review of Rise of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie, or Rise of the TMNT, the movie. And that's how we'll probably refer to it in this review, because that's a pretty long title to say. But we haven't talked about this series in a long time, this incarnation of the Ninja Turtles in a very long time, and that's with very good reason. It was back, I checked, in September of 2018. I did a video saying that this is awful, this is horrible. The designs of the Turtles were frighteningly bad. I would even say they are worse than the Michael Bay designs. Even though Michael Bay himself didn't design them, he did approve them. So, with that being said, that's pretty fucking bad, because those designs are bad, even though I did enjoy Out of the Shadows, and I did actually think that that was a good Turtles movie, even though it had a glaring flaw that the Turtles were designed horribly and freakish, and I did not really like their, gigantic, super muscular form that they gave them. And when we come to this series, we see like another like super freakish jacked up Raphael. And I said right away, like, what the fuck did they do to Raphael? What the fuck did they do to all of these turtles? They all look pretty damn bad, some more than others. Like Donnie has just been, beaten to hell as far as his design, but whatever. This is not the series, this is the movie. And, that was years ago. There was many episodes of Rise of the TMNT. Well, not really. There's only 39 episodes. So, people still to this day, they go on that video and they argue, oh, you were wrong about this series. It was great. And quite frankly, guys, no one really cared about this series. It was kind of universally like the least popular TMNT, and you can see that by how long the series lasted. 1987, 10 fucking seasons, 2003. I mean, look at all the different incarnations that they had, from Fast Forward to Back to the Sewers, and 2012, another one, long running. And then you get Rise of the TMNT, and we only get to 2 seasons, and the second season was slashed in half. Only 13 episodes. No other Ninja Turtles franchise had that short of a season, except for 1987, when the last 3 seasons were, cut down to 8 episodes apiece. And those are interesting seasons. We'll talk about them eventually on this channel. But, that was towards the end of the show's run. And it's, mega, massive, huge season 3. So Rise of the TMNT is not what I would say a successful Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. But let's talk about this movie. So, it is definitely better animated. There's more refined designs on the already bad designs, but I'll try not to harp too much on these designs, because if you want to see me harp on the designs, go watch the 2018 video that I did when this first came out, and I was, already horrified, so I'm not going to do that again. But I will just say that does detract from the movie, because these are bad designs, and on top of that, well, I'll get to it in a moment. But anyway, what's the premise here? So we start off in 2044. And I will say this is one point where the movie is very strong. I like this story. I'm not going to make any bones about it. This story is actually pretty good. It involves the Krang destroying the future. I mean, it is a post-apocalyptic nightmare, and I like how it looks, and we see Casey Jones, and the only surviving turtle members are Michelangelo and Leonardo, and Leonardo is like a ninja master now. I mean, he couldn't do anything to stop the Krang. And Michelangelo has been turned into some sort of magical wizard, Doctor Strange style, and is able to open these like energy portals. And for some reason, he's growing fucking hair out of the sides of his head. I don't know how that happens, quite frankly, it looked pretty stupid. But then again, that's like aesthetically, when it comes to character designs, that's how they do it. I mean, you know, based on these designs, I mean, everything looks good. I mean, you know, the line work and everything on these characters looks good and looks more refined than in the series. So, you know, this is just designs that these, you know, animators are supposed to draw. So, you know, if this is what they're told to draw, like, that's fine. It's not even to say that these are the designs, so you can't really fault them for that. But anyway, they want Casey to find a key. Leonardo tells him to go back to the past and, you know, get the Krang, get the key, stop the Krang. We go back to the past with Casey. You know, he finds the turtles, and of course, you know, they're weirded out by him. They don't believe he's from the future. So Casey ends up gaining their trust because Splinter has heard of the Krang, and the Foot is in control of the key, and they use the key to bring forth the Krang, and the Krang take over the whole city. They use some like weird parasitic substance to take over. They capture Raphael, and they bring forth what's known as the Technodrome, and it's like a different looking Technodrome, but it is still spherical, and it comes down from the sky out of a portal, and it's all together just some really cool stuff. They even take over a subway car, and you know, it's got like a tongue coming out of it. It's just cool how they take over. And you know, once again, this is like another offshoot of the TCRI aliens. You know, in the comic, that's what they were called. Then in 2003, they called them the Utroms. And then they started calling them the Krang in 2012. And of course, in 1987, Krang was just one singular being. And of course, they have android bodies. You know, so they've got that all in there. And I think that's really an interesting little offshoot of the same tale being retold. And that's really cool. I really do like this plot. I like how they took over Raphael and everything. I think, you know, that looks cool. That's very well done, and how everything is all encompassed together. And the Krang look awesome. And the main Krang, which, you know, all they do is call it is Krang 1 if you look at the credits. And I think that the voice actor does a great job. You know, everyone is like a good voiceover, I will say, but the performances are just not good to me. Because this is the thing. All of these characters are so mischaracterized by like what we've been told these characters are supposed to be over the many years of TMNT and all the different incarnations from the comics onward. These turtles are unbearable. They just don't stop with these horrible, overly sassy jokes. I mean, Leonardo, and I know this plays into the plot, is selfish, but Leonardo being the jokey one, I swear to God, he makes more jokes than Michelangelo. And even Donnie is cracking tons of jokes, and, you know, Raphael is the straight man here. And that is the biggest problem. Raphael being the leader, when Raphael has, for so long since the comics, been the hothead. He's been the hothead always. And somehow, some way, you know, we are just now completely doing away with that characterization. And now we're just going to make him the leader, and he's the most level-headed one. You know, he's the one down to do the sacrifices and all that, and, you know, helping them get away. It just doesn't sit well with me. And April O'Neil, I mean, holy shit, this is just a horrendous version of April O'Neil. And I've talked about this back in 2018. Super sassy to the point of it just being so much like just a really obnoxious version of April. This Casey Jones is like a pussified version of Casey Jones. And, you know, and they're making him like a more intelligent, level-headed Casey Jones when he's supposed to be a guy with a couple of screws loose. From the comics to 2003, he always wants a fight. He always wants to jump in. He doesn't think things through. He's supposed to have that in common with Raphael. Raphael's supposed to be like his spirit animal, and that's why they have that rivalry between each other. But you don't get any of that. You don't have any of that characterization because the characterizations have been all thrown around, mishmashed, and they're just complete fucking shit, to put it mildly. I mean, that was my biggest problem, and it translates into the movie. They wanted to make this a sequel, and I get it. We have a series. This is called Rise of the TMNT, the movie, so we're going to make it, like a continuation from the show. But, the thing is, what they needed to know is that there was a reason why this show was canceled. This was their moment to turn it around and fix these characterizations. You can still have your Raph as the leader if you really want to. And, you could have these horrible designs. But, let's tone it a little bit back on the jokes, because I know it's the movie and it's probably every single joke that they couldn't write into the show. But these jokes and just how these characters are acting, the characters emoting was something that they started in 2012, but it was so much better done there. 2012 is a very funny show. There's actually a lot of really quality jokes in there and humor, and the camaraderie between the brothers is just so well done. Such a good show. And here it's like they took that joke nature and just twisted it and just beat it down and made it into like the biggest try hard telling jokes for the sake of telling jokes. It's like a clearance sale of jokes. It's like they bought every joke book in existence and just started reading randomly from them with no quality control at all. Oh, you know what, that doesn't matter if this is funny. It is a joke, so let's tell it. That's pretty much what I'm getting here from it. And it really pains me because there's some really good scenes in here. The Krang, they come across so awesome in this. I really do like them, and I think they're animated very well. I like how they're more towering and they're not so tiny as they were in 2012, and in the Utroms in 2003 and in 1987. Krang. I like this, how even without their android bodies, they're pretty fucking scary, and they're big threats. Even without it, look, they managed to cause that much damage. Even without their android bodies, they still managed to capture Raphael. So that does, account for something. And, I still did feel a little something when Leonardo does the sacrifice. He leads one of the lead Krang through the portal and tries to trap him there. And you think for a moment, I actually kind of thought for a moment, well, this is the movie. Are they going to really just have him sacrifice and he'll be trapped forever in this portal with this Krang? But Mikey manages to tap into his future powers. He opens up a portal of his own, and Leonardo gets to come back. So the day is saved. The rest of the lead Krang is trapped there, and the other two Krang are just captured in the end. They see they got them in tanks and they take them away. So there's a lot to like here, but there's a lot to dislike. These characterizations, and I didn't mention it yet, but the fact that Splinter is a fat fuck. I mean, what the hell did they do to Splinter? I didn't get to talk about Splinter in my 2018 video, so I will throw that out here. I knew I said I wasn't going to get too much into the designs, but I will throw that out. Like Splinter is a total goofball. Splinter is supposed to be their master, and yet he's fat, he's morbidly obese, he's short, he's out of shape. When in 2012, they had Splinter taller than he's ever been. And the guy has always been fit. For an old dude, I mean, you see him, flipping around and, a lot of times performing better than the turtles in most cases. But, you know, here he's like he's a meatball. That's what he looks like. I mean, geez. What did they do to Splinter? How can anybody say that this is like a good design? But there's people out there, mind you. Now, this story would have been awesome had they did it in 2003 or 2012 or 1987. But because we have these mischaracterized turtles, you know, the movie ends up falling flat for me. Because, you know, every single cool thing that the Krang do, like taking over the city and taking over the foot and the population with the parasitic, you know, whatever you want to call it, substance, that's super cool. But, you know, for every bit of good that does, these turtles cracking their stupid ass jokes, acting like a ton of goofballs, is not. I mean, it really does take away from the film. I just was rolling my eyes through it like, shut the hell up already. It's not funny. Like seriously, like this is a bad script for dialogue. You know, and I like Ben Schwartz. I think Ben Schwartz is a good voice of Leonardo. You know, I love Ben Schwartz from the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. And I think Ben Schwartz is a good Leonardo. I think it's a good voice for him. You know? And it's kind of more in line with 1987 and 2012, you know, a bit of a softer voice for Leonardo, you know, as opposed to 2003 where, you know, he has a bit more grit to him. And perhaps that may be the best type of voice for Leonardo, to have a bit more grit since he is the leader. But I like a more laid back Leonardo. But this Leonardo, if he's laying back anymore, like if he leaned back in his lazy boy, he'd be falling over onto the damn floor. I mean, the guy, seriously, he's more of a goofball than Michelangelo most of the time. Bouncing pizza boxes on his head on the bridge. Like, you know, this is like stuff that Leonardo would not do. Leonardo being selfish, he would be the least selfish member of the Ninja Turtles. Horrible characterizations and otherwise good story. So for me, this movie's just like kind of meh. It wasn't bad. It, like the movie in like the very beginning, you know, when we're really seeing the turtles really joke around and shit, like that's really bad and unbearable. But then towards the end of the movie, especially like the last half an hour to 40 minutes, it gets pretty good. And the story, you know, gets a bit more serious with Leonardo and the sacrifice and everything. And, you know, Mikey really tapping into those powers. That's some cool shit right there. But, you know, this movie does lack because these characters, when it comes down to the end of the day, it's all about the turtles. It is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie after all. And if the turtles are not likable, then the movie just kind of ends up falling flat. So that's why it is a bit of a meh for me. It is definitely better than anything I've seen from the TV series, but I have admittedly not seen every single episode. But I am saying it's a good story. And I know a lot of people are going to hate on me, a lot of the rise of the TMNT fans. So you can let me know down in the comments. Post that hate below. Post the positivity down below. If you fucking hated the video, then hit the thumbs down. But if you enjoyed the video here today, or you just appreciate what I had to say and you appreciate the review, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get all notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. Thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.